Town Select Board regular meeting agenda for October 20th. Would you please all join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We have Josh, Selectman Josh is going to be joining us today by video, so all of our votes will be taken by roll call. And the first item up for is the acceptance and correction of minutes from 10/6/25 public and non-public.
I'll make a motion, we accept the 10/6/25 public and non-public minutes with corrections if need be.
Second. Motion by Mark, seconded by Jim. I will call for a roll call vote. Any discussion, questions? Seeing none, start with Jim.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Yes.
Josh?
Yes.
We have one announcement tonight. Goffstown Library will be hosting town department heads on Wednesday, October 29th, 2025 at 6:30 p.m. This is an opportunity to ask questions, discuss ideas, or simply connect with the town department heads. It's called Connecting with Your Town Department Heads. Whether you have a question, ideas, or simply want to connect, feel free to come to the library, October 29th at 6:30 p.m. Is there anybody here for public comment? Seeing none, will DPW director's up first.
Hi, good evening.
Good evening.
So this item probably looks familiar. Put in a request for continuation of what we've done the last two winter seasons with our supervisory on-call pay framework. As I understand, the packet that you received on Friday had the wrong attachment to it. That was not my attachment, but rather a markup or an edit, I guess, from HR. So I think you've got both copies now, but mine represents the same thing I've submitted the last 2 years. And I also, as I was printing the packet, saw that HR director has submitted a response memo, which I had not seen before about an hour ago. So I can try to respond to some of those on the fly if you'd like to talk about it tonight, but certainly appreciate it if you would rather not.
Effective. What's the effective date of this?
So I think we've always done it the Monday starting of the week of Thanksgiving,
That's correct.
because we run it, in the past 2 years, we've run it concurrently with the payroll week.
Ends when, April 15th or something?
April 15th, I believe, was the end date last year.
It might vary a little bit because we would want to end it on a Sunday.
Okay.
Could I,
Go right ahead,
I
John.
was just thinking, Danielle brings up some good points, and rather than rush it through tonight, we're meeting next Monday. Would that be enough time to work out some of these issues, questions, and we take it up next Monday?
So would you like to make a motion to table this to next Monday?
Yes.
So does the board have any, I guess, questions while we're here? I think there is a little bit of a philosophy difference. At Town Hall, we believe it should be a flat rate, because when you base it on somebody's wages, that's going to continue to grow year after year, and you're basically paying somebody that may be more senior in a higher wage rate, a higher rate for doing it versus, whereas Adam's concerned that we would never revisit this on-call rate ever again, and it would never increase, and eventually we'd be somewhere in the future. And sorry to speak for you.
No, that's the biggest thing. I mean, for me, the two.
Are you two in sync with the issues? That's what I'm concerned about.
No, I think we've got a little bit of a disagreement on how it should be.
Well, would it make sense to hold it for a week, and you guys can?
I think we've talked about this in department heads. I just think it's a difference in philosophy. I don't know that, I really feel like the on-call should really be a flat stipend and the board could visit it because the sewer department has had luck with this, and they have a flat based on weekday, weekend. We could develop one for holiday. But, so, I mean, Adam and I have talked about this. We've talked about this at department heads as well. There are other departments that should probably be included as well, but some are, I guess, have a system that kind of works for them right now without the compensation.
So you're not looking for a town-wide,
I think it's going to be very difficult, and I think with Adam's group, we're kind of coming up against the winter season. So that's why, even though it wasn't perfect, so originally Adam had given this to me in time to put in the October 6th meeting, but
Josh?
delayed it.
Yeah, well, number one, can you guys see my hand raised, just so that way I'm not butting in while you guys are doing that?
Yes, it's in the upper left corner, yep.
Okay, perfect. Okay, I think my point of view on this one is, well, it's not a point of view. I guess the first one is I have a question, Derek, probably to you and Adam. Do the roles and responsibilities talk about being on call already in the job descriptions?
So job descriptions largely include language like available for winter and other emergencies. They do not specify the rotating nature of on-call, being the person, the point of contact for us as a non-24 hour.
But did they do specify being on call in some shape or form? Is that correct, Adam?
We'd have to pull it, but there is language that, yes, after hours, some nature of, yes, yeah.
Okay, second question I have is, because as I read through this, is besides the stipend that you have here, which is, I assume, without having any calls at all, they still get that just for being on call, is that correct?
That's correct. Stipend was to offset 16 hours of on-call during the week and 24 hours on-call for each day.
Okay, and then if they are called and it's out of hours, then that's time and a half, is that correct?
As soon as that triggers statutory, employment activity, I guess, yes, that it's hour for hour, and then there's a 3-hour minimum. So if it's a short, a single tree down, and it might be less than 3 hours, but otherwise it's,
There's probably some HR rules, obviously, here for like hourly workers and things like that, I assume too, Derek, but at least in most places where I've done on-call, and even my own place where I'm at now, we do on-call, we do things either time or lieu, or we actually do a flat rate, and we do that intentionally, probably for some of the same reasons you're talking about, Derek, which is make sure that there's equality on whoever's on call. We also typically do not just give a stipend based upon you being on call. It typically gets activated based upon the calls that you have.
Just hold on for a second. There was a motion made by Jim to table this. I think we need to have the actual program. We have 2 new members that weren't involved in the program originally, plus, so they would be able to look at the program and how it was set up. So the motion by Jim was to table it, and I would go along with what Jim said.
for a week.
For 1 week. And I want that, I would like the information sent out on the original program, how when we wrote it up.
Okay, I don't think we never modified the personnel plan, and I think Adam's description in the packet, albeit with the correct memo that he had provided, the attached, does, I think, capture correctly how the program has worked the last 2 years for DPW.
Has it been 2 years or just 1 year?
It's been 2.
Last 2 winters.
The only other info that you may recall in '23, we talked about it a couple meetings in a row. I think it was like August, September, October. There were some data calls back to all the department heads for the various employees that may or may not be subject to any kind of an on-call or a callback type situation, to sort of try to categorize. I can't really speak to the
So my
decision
call's
at the
gonna be,
time.
we're gonna pull the information out from those 2 meetings and that we discussed it. So these, I want to make sure everybody understands the policy. Is that what you're looking for, Josh?
Yeah, I was looking to get additional detail off the policy that I read, which I do think there's a lot in here that provides detail. And I hear the motion to table it. I don't know if I heard a second though, Peter.
You all set, Mark? You're going?
Why can't we make the motion tonight? I mean, we all, the members that are here, kind of all agree on a flat rate, right?
Well, they're looking for something different, so are you saying we're going to go with it? You're gonna recommend we go with the flat rate?
That's what I want. That's what I'm looking for.
And Richard?
I think that conforms with most industry practices.
Josh, you also,
Is that the only issue? That satisfies everybody, just a flat rate?
does that satisfy your,
Well, I think what may make more sense is if we ask Derek to do an assessment of like what's going on in other areas and maybe come back with a more appropriate plan for the entire town. I think that that's also what you're looking for, correct? Derek and Adam, like correctly, like making sure that we unify this and get a good process in place?
I think my recommendation the last couple of years has been that, here's kind of what I feel for DPW, or here's what we've been doing for DPW, but if you'd like to discuss the rest of town, the board has chosen twice, 2 years in a row, not to expand that, and if the board wants to go into that, I think we have some of that backup information ready.
well, let's make, Mark, are you making a motion?
I'm making a motion, yes.
Okay, was it seconded?
What was the motion?
To go with a flat
Flat
rate?
rate.
Just for DPW?
And but this would be just for DPW. This is not encompassing anybody else, which I think was one of the issues that's been the last 2 years. So if we want to just okay this for DPW and say, okay, come back with something else for the other departments, we could do that also.
So I think the one thing is perhaps we can, if you're willing to table this, we can come forward with, I guess, two options. Adam's option of what he's proposed and what it would cost, and what would be an equivalent flat rate. And then we can, rather than, because I don't know what you're thinking for a flat rate right now.
If that's
My
the case,
point.
I'd be happy to second Jim's motion.
Okay, we already have a motion on the floor from Mark. It was a second, it's that motion failed. Jim made a motion to table it. Josh, you seconded it? All in favor?
I'm seconding Jim's
No, we're gonna have to do a roll
table
call.
it with the addition of ensuring that we get information around what a proper flat rate would be.
Fine. That's a roll call vote. Jim?
Yes.
Mark?
Yes, sir.
Josh?
Yes.
Yes?
Yes.
All right, so we'll table it till next Monday for more information.
Thank you.
Adam, Derek, you're up next.
Okay, you have your committee meeting scheduled at page 7. Historic District Commission is Wednesday at 6:30 PM. Just a note, Conservation Commission has canceled for this week. And then Planning Board will be on Thursday at 7 PM. A reminder, next Monday at 6 PM, Select Board will meet again. Tuesday, 6 PM, Budget Committee at the high school. 6 PM, Sewer Commission will be in this room.
I'm gonna be gone.
I'll cover his position.
Okay, I will let Lynn know so she can get any information to you. And then on Thursday, the Budget Committee will meet as well. And then on Friday, there will be distribution of Halloween trick-or-treat. I've heard from almost all members, so I think the ones I haven't, I'll just touch base with. Your next page, you have your consent agenda, employee status reports. You have a police full-time records clerk 2 with a merit grade advancement, a full-time dispatcher 2, merit grade advancement. You have 3 seasonal laborers at DPW. This is end of season separation. And then at fire, a full-time firefighter, AAMT. This is a promotion from per diem firefighter. And then a special event permit for the car show for Mountain Base Brewery on November 9th.
Motion to approve the consensus agenda as presented this evening.
Second.
Motion by Mark, seconded by Richard. Roll call vote. Jim?
Yes.
Mark?
Yes, sir.
Josh?
Yes.
Me, yes.
Yes.
And Richard's a yes.
At your next page, you have assessor's recommendations. Recently, during the review of the town's 2023 revaluation, the town was cited for missing signatures on previously approved credits and exemptions. These were all approved between 1971 and 2005. The assessor has reviewed the files for compliance and recommends the select board reapprove and sign the actual forms for DRA. So this would, again, would be for reaffirming approval. There are 6 properties for standard and optional veterans tax credits signed or approved between 1971 and 1977. You have 101 properties that are standard and optional veteran tax credit and the tax credit for service-connected disabilities between 1978 and 2004. 17 properties for standard and optional veterans tax credit between 2004 and 2005, and then 1 property for an elderly exemption that was approved originally in 2004.
Was this something that was supposed to be done and we just missed it, or we didn't know?
It's unclear. Some of the old forms didn't actually have a place for signature, and then actually all of these were done before our current assessor came through, so he has reviewed them. They do have all the documentation to receive the credits and the exemption. It's just DRA did not like the fact that the forms did not have a signature from the select board.
Anybody else got questions? Motion?
Motion to approve the assessor's recommendation as presented?
Second?
Motion by Richard, seconded by Jim. Roll call vote. Jim?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Josh?
Yes.
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 Next.
On your next page, you have the 2026 health trust rates. We received these 10 days ago. As you can see, there is a slight increase in the health and dental, and a slight reduction in our short-term disability. Overall, our health rates went up on average 3.7%. You have additional information on how those rates were figured and what goes into them on the following pages, and we're just seeking an authorization to sign the transmittal forms so we can begin open enrollment.
Is there an idea of the cost?
The cost, yes. So right now, the insurance line increased by 120,000. Some of that will be, so that'll be all the short-term, long-term life, health, and dental. And again, that's an estimate based on what people currently have.
So a potential increase of $120,000.
Yes, on a $3.3 million line.
Anybody else got questions? Motion?
I move we authorize the town administrator to sign the transmittal forms for the 2026 coverage year.
Second.
Motion by Jim, seconded by Mark. Any questions? Seeing none, roll call vote. Jim?
Yes.
Mark?
Yes, sir.
Josh?
Yes.
Myself's a yes.
Yes.
Richard? Motion passes.
At page 16, tab 5E, you have the insurance renewals for property and liability, workers' comp, and unemployment compensation. All the information is there, as well as the transmittal letters. We will note that for our property and liability program, last year we were notified that they changed the restored replacement cost eligibility for fire apparatus and ambulances. They reduced it from 20 years down to 15. We had a lot of questions about that, and Danielle did a very good job reaching out to Primex. They have restored that and brought it back to 20 years for full replacement costs, which is a benefit for us because we do have some devices, some apparatus at the fire department that fall in between that 15 and 20 year age. So they would have full coverage and full replacement. We do have a significant increase of about 60,000 or about 30% on the property liability side. We had been part of a 3-year agreement with Primex that guaranteed a cap of only 9% increases per year, and our experience in the property and liability claims from 2020 to present have been pretty significant. So we're no longer eligible for that, but we are starting to look at some of the other programs that they have that can bring those costs down in the future.
At this program we have now, do we have an idea what that's going to increase the cost?
$60,000,
That's total, okay.
yes.
So insurance so far are at $180,000, just in insurance.
Yes.
60 is 1.1.
Well, the 60 is only in the property and liability. You get another 13,000 in workers' compensation, which that's largely a change to what we have for our actual payroll. And then our unemployment went up $500.
Is the motion to go ahead, Jim.
Just a question. You said that in the future you're gonna be looking for programs to offset this. Why can't we do that now?
So we definitely can do it now. It's just part of this renewal, it wasn't eligible when they set these rates. So we'll have to enroll in those programs, so when they set the rates next year, hopefully get some discounts. Most of them are educational to try and help you keep your claims down. It's all driven by our claims and our, as you recall, we had a totaled ambulance during this period, and that was a $300,000 replacement for them, and then we've had other claims throughout.
Are there other ways to lower the cost besides just being in the program? I mean, are there certain things that we can reduce liability on?
We can definitely reach out to Primex and see if there's potential for changing what our deductible is, or if there are any other programs they have, and we can bring that back to the board, absolutely.
What's our, I mean, I guess it's on this page, it says what our deductibles are, maybe?
We have a $1,000 deductible per claim, basically.
How many claims have we made in the last year?
Sorry, just wanted to answer the deductible question. Because we're part of a risk pool through this insurance program, we can't pick our own deductibles or change our individual coverage levels. So the pool as a whole gets rated, and then you get individually rated based on your experience. We've had really terrible claims experience the last 3 years. In the property and liability section, we've had a couple of liability claims that went through court. We had several motor vehicle accidents as well that were our fault, so it's really claims driven for that particular line.
I guess that answers that. Thanks, Danielle.
Anything else? Motion?
Motion to renew the property and liability coverage, workman's compensation coverage, and unemployment compensation coverage with New Hampshire Primex through December 31st, 2026, and authorize the town administrator to sign any necessary documentation to enact this renewal.
Second.
Motion by Mark, seconded by Jim. Anyone with further discussion? Seeing none? Start with Jim.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Josh?
Yes.
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 Motion passes.
At tab 5F, page 24, you have the preliminary 2025 tax rate. We've gotten all the information from county and the school side as well as municipal, and we are prepared to set the tax rate. Right now, the town tax rate would be $7.02 for a total tax rate of $20.88. Danielle and I looked back through our notes, and as we were working with the budget committee, and Richard, you probably remember we were calculating that tax rate throughout. We estimated if all the appropriations, we thought we were going to be around $7.04, so we received a little bit more meals and rooms tax than we anticipated, so we're right where we anticipated it would be.
Questions?
I'll make a motion to proceed with the setting of the 2025 tax rate with municipal rate of $7.02 per thousand over a tax rate of $20.88 per thousand.
Seconded.
Motion by Josh, seconded by Richard. Any discussion or questions? Just want to point out that the largest increase was on the county side, 21 cents. So the motion was on the floor. Jim?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Josh?
Yes.
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 Motion passes.
And then the final item at tab 5G, you have a quarterly budget report, narrative prepared by the department heads, talking about different lines, and most of the departments are here and can answer any questions the board may have.
The legal line, is that due to a couple of zoning issues?
Yeah, so we've had 4 cases from planning and zoning appeals. 3 of them gone through the housing appeal boards, and 1 is at Superior Court. So 3 of those have been concluded. We have 1 more that had oral arguments in September. So that definitely, it's a hard one to predict what type of development that you'll have come through, but those can be very expensive. The lawyers have to, Patty does a great job of creating the certified record, but it then has to go through, get all numbered, organized by the attorney, their paralegals, and then they have to prepare the town's argument in those. So those are very expensive.
Questions? Any questions? You're on the budget guy, you're the budget side.
Don't have any particular questions that aren't already, or concerns that aren't already highlighted. No.
Peter?
Go ahead, Mark.
Question on page 33, this one probably, we'll be looking for Adam for the answer. The recycling and the trash, is that expected to go up significantly?
As long as the typical tonnage for the trash for what goes to the landfill stays relatively constant, we should be fine. The issue is on the recycling line. So single stream recycling commodity rates have fluctuated so much, and unfortunately it's been almost completely trending in the wrong direction. since we set the budget last year. We were a little conservative. We didn't set the full budget at I think the rates were, $67 or something last fall, but we set a number higher than we had been, which was $33 I think last year. We set it at 40 something for this year, but it's steadily crept up since the fall. So right now we will be over for recycling by the end of the year unless something really nosedives. That varies. Our contract with them is variable per month.
Yep.
So it could happen. The very latest forecast from the New Hampshire Recycles, the NRRA group, said that they do not anticipate any major changes in commodity pricing for either bulk cardboard, mixed paper, glass, plastics, any of that. It's all pretty flat for the rest of the year. So
Okay, thank you.
we're trending to go over, and unless something crazy happens, we will go over on that line.
Thank you.
We'll be getting into the budget stuff later, but I think this is just year-to-date stuff that the question is for. Go ahead, Jim.
I don't know if it's appropriate, but that's just why you got you there. Have you noticed any problems, you know how we changed the road plan this year, to do some side roads? Has that caused you any troubles?
A little bit. We've certainly had an uptick in calls for roadside mowing, and you may see it as you drive around, depending on where you go. A lot of the neighborhood streets, so you might see it on the mains, they've been mowed back for the most part, but a lot of the neighborhood streets we just didn't get to with the curtailed budget for that, so we definitely have had an uptick in complaints there. The catch basin cleaning and pipe flushing and video line is one of those that will be a death by 1,000 paper cuts later if we go too many years with a reduced budget there. We definitely did less this year, but it's not the kind of thing where it's going to hit you immediately.
Do you think you could work your plan in the future to accommodate both issues?
Certainly would like
Without
to.
causing too much trouble.
I won't let the cat out of the bag for next week's recommendations, but I'm recommending restoration of the full budget for both areas for sure.
We'll hear
Because
his budget next week.
Yeah,
so.
okay. All
we
right,
need, we
thanks.
need to maintain what we have for sure.
Josh, you got anything?
Yeah, one question I have is that on the top of page 32, where it says the overall budget is decent shape with division expenditures between 65 and 78%. Where is your current estimate? Because that's a pretty broad swath of where you think we're currently at. So
It is.
where do you think we're at?
I'm not, it's a little too early to peg a number for end of year. The reason for the big difference though from division to division is primarily in highway, where we encumber so much of the funding for construction and road plan and salt, et cetera, early. That shows as expended, even if it's just encumbered but not spent yet. So highway, for example, I don't have it right in front of me, I'm sorry, but highway is the high of those groups because of that. So it's got all the regular expenditures, but also all the encumbrances tied in. So as the next couple weeks go on, that encumbrance money turns into actual expenditures, and it'll flatten out for highway as it goes.
So in your feeling though, or you feel like we're closer to the 78% or closer to the 65% in reality?
I would say we're probably right around in the middle, about 70-ish%.
Okay. Because I mean, the one thing we don't want to do is go over, right? So like if you are closer to 78%, are there areas where you think you're going to be able to pull back in?
We've definitely held off on a few lines, such as, to make up for items like the recycling that's going to be over. Tires, I think by the end of the year is going to be over again based on what the foreman's telling me for winter swap outs. So we've definitely held back. I think we have a healthy amount of under expenditure by the time it's all said and done with the road plan. Again, maybe too early for me to put this out, but my hope is I can come in with an actual request to encumber funds for top coats like we used to in the past. So yes, to answer the question, I think we'll be under budget sufficiently to
Okay.
not sweat it out.
And then my other question probably isn't for you. I think it's more for page 34, which is Parks and Recs and Goffstown Library. I do not see percentages on where they are in the budget right now. It just says that they're on target. So where are they?
So if you,
Thank you.
go to page 51 and 52 of your packet, you'll actually see the details. So right now, at the end of September, Parks and Rec was at 71.6% expended, and library is at 68.5% expended.
Anything else? Anybody else got any
That's it.
questions? Seeing none, we'll move on, Terry.
Okay, so the next one would be 2026 budget presentations. So we have distributed the next year budget report as prepared by department heads. It's a different format this year than you're used to seeing. One of the key differences is in the 2025 year-to-date column. This year, we have combined the expenditures as well as encumbered POs and shown those both as year-to-dates rather than have them as two separate columns. And then, we've also added in, you'll see in the heading, and you'll start seeing throughout on some of the subtotals, you'll see a 4-digit subtotal, like on the first page right at the bottom, it says 4130 subtotal. That's actually, 4130 is general government executive. That is what shows on the DRA form. So this is what was handed out today. It's not in the packet. Yep.
Yep.
So for the overview of the department head budget, what you have is basically the same level of service from 2025 with increases. One of the largest increases that you're going to see is in the capital budget, CIP. That matches the planning board approved CIP matrix. That's an increase of almost $2.3 million above the 2025 appropriation. Again, we had a significant cuts when we went before the budget committee last year in CIP. In terms of personnel, all the funded positions from the 2025 approved operating budget are included. We have wage adjustments that were voter approved for 3 of our 4 CBAs. Police officers, police dispatchers and clerks, and firefighters are all included in the wage adjustments. We'll get to DPW in a minute. And then non-union wage adjustments, step advancement for eligible employees, and we also did a 3.3% matrix adjustment on the matrix. This matches the Northeast CPI annual increase for August 2025. This is similar to what we did last year. We used that as to keep the matrix moving forward. The one big change that we did this year is we budgeted all non-union wage increases for January 1st. So we show the full year. And this is to better coincide with some different legislation that was considered on the state level regarding default budget as well as personnel wage increases after the date of the operating budget gets adopted. Basically, there was a bill that was passed, both the House and the Senate, but it was vetoed by the governor, that may have limited what we could have done in future default budgets. So while this does inflate the budget a little bit for the full year, it does give the voters and the budget committee and the select board a true look at what a full year of those wage increases looks like.
And, excuse me, is that retroactive then, after the March vote?
Yes, it would be retroactive. We would have to do a calculation for that. Yes, thank you. And then the New Hampshire Health Trust as well as Primax increases that we talked about earlier this evening. What's not included in this budget, you do not have the Teamsters CPA. That will be a separate article. Currently, we have a $1 placeholder in the budget under special articles for that item. And then the Library Board of Trustees will be bringing forward a request for a capital reserve fund to you next week when the library presents. And then department heads will report on notable increases and decreases during their department presentations. And then on the following page, you just have an overview of the general fund operating budget and the last 2 years, as well as what's proposed, as well as the changes. And I can answer any questions about the overview, or I can jump right into admin and answer any questions that you might have there.
Anybody got any questions on the overview?
Nope.
Okay, let's jump right into admin then.
Okay, so in my admin budget overview, admin has an increase of about $230,000. Of that, $170,000 is in full-time and part-time wages as well as related benefits, FICA, Medicare, New Hampshire retirement, and longevity. Town Hall is 100% non-union employees. We have 21 full-time and 2 part-time positions. biggest change is due really to going to that January 1st increase as well as a 3.3% wage matrix adjustment. We did have some savings in salaries and wages due to some retirements last year, so those positions end up costing the town a little bit less, but overall, across all the positions, there is a significant increase in our wages, and that's all divisions. So that'll split out as you're looking at your budget report. That'll be the first 6 pages are town hall and the different departments. So that's not in any one line, that's in all the wages and lines.
Did you say there's decrease in wages?
For individual positions, so specifically town clerk's office, we had 2 retirements in that office. So
Things like that.
So when you bring in somebody new, they're maybe a little bit lower down. Same thing with finance, we had some retirements, we had a retirement there. So you save a little bit there, but everybody else is kind of progressing through the wage matrix.
And you made a decision not to fund elected officials?
So I've got that on the second page. I think that needs to be a board decision. We put no change from what is the approved budget. So last year, the Budget Committee removed stipends for elected officials, so that's both the Select Board and Supervisor of the Checklist. This was definitely something that I struggled with and thought a lot about, but we kind of used that approved budget and status quo for what the Budget Committee and what the voters approved. So the Select Board can more than put that back into the operating budget, but I left that at $0.
And that includes who?
So that would be the Select Board, and that would be the Supervisor's Checklist, and that would be the moderator. There is an elected officials under the town clerk, but that is a full-time position, and we have funded that for whoever may be elected next year.
And so you're being selective on on elected officials or who gets paid? That's all, we'll talk about that when we get to the budget, I guess.
Okay. So another increase I had was in electricity. Well, while we have pretty favorable electrical rates through next year, looking at 3 years worth of data, both Town Hall and Grassmere Town Hall were, I think, under budgeted the last couple of years. And right now, my electricity lines are 100% expended, and I still have 3 months of bills forthcoming. So that's a correction there to add in 5,600. And again, I based that on what we had seen for usage over the last 2.5 years. So 2 full years plus through September now.
Derek, did you account for any sort of increases that the electric companies are already accounting for, or?
So our supply rate is contracted through November of next year, so it is kind of, we don't track the actual commodity and how many kilowatt hours we're using, so we don't have that built in. So it was really looking at what we had for bills. If there is a huge spike in the distribution charge from PSNH, then that would hit this as well. But no, I did not. I kind of just looked at what we had for dollar figure averages for the last 2.5 years.
Okay.
Anybody else?
The next big increase is in elections. Next year, we will have 3 elections, so there's an increase of $15,000. When we provide you the detailed information for the default, we will carry that number right over into default because it is your statutory duty to provide for poll. Under information technology, under hardware, there's a $15,000 increase. This is for CCTV cameras. In 2021, we did a full CCTV project in town, installing them throughout all the departments, and we did that as a CIP project. And what I've asked IT to do is to start building that into our regular hardware replacement line. So it would have a 5-year, basically you'd be replacing 1/5 of your total cameras. To date, we've been fortunate so far that we've only had to replace 5 or 6 cameras, but as they all age at the same time, we don't necessarily want to have that big expense hit all at once. So that $15,000 increase is to start building that in, that we could purchase 1/5 of the cameras throughout the year and start replacing them as needed. So we have that there. Under computer software, we use Tyler Tech Munis. That is our financial and human resource software. And we currently host that on site in our own town-maintained servers, and we would like to move that to an online model where we actually pay about $30,000 more a year to Tyler for them to actually host the data. They actually also run all of the weekly updates to the servers. They also monitor all that information, whereas right now we have town staff doing that. So this will give us a little bit of flexibility. People can log right into Tyler and access it anywhere, and I think we'll also get a little bit better customer service. Right now, if there's any work that needs to be done on the servers, you have to coordinate between their help desk as well as our IT help desk to get them coordinated so that you can actually let them onto our servers. But our preference would be to have them host the data.
How much time savings is that?
Time savings, I don't know. I can ask our IT manager to do a spit out of our help desk trouble tickets and see how many he's had from Munis. In preparing the budget, we did notice that for the past month or so, that some of the weekly backups were kind of hitting a hiccup right in the middle. So that's something that they fixed last week, but they had to spend quite a bit of time on it. But I can ask him what he has for tickets related to Munis.
Well, that's what I was gonna ask. You kind of hit on that, Derek, which is, do we save any money on the backups because we're not actually holding that data any longer, and do they store that all for us?
Yeah, so they would store that all for us, and I don't know that we would save any money in the immediate future because, again, we just did a server refresh project. We purchased all the servers that we need, and including the data that has this, but this potentially prevents us from having to buy more, and it just really kind of relieves IT a little bit. They've got so many different items that they're carrying right now. This kind of pushes that off. The other nice thing is if we ever have some type of breach with our servers, the fear that we've had is we have to run payroll through this. If all of this data gets locked up, that can be a big problem, whereas Tyler provides online services to thousands of communities throughout the nation. So we just feel a little bit safer about it.
Anything else?
And then also in IT, we have mobile comms. Again, this is typical increases that we're seeing on an annual basis, but just a reminder, last year's budget did have mobile devices for all of the sworn police officers, but we only budgeted 9 months. So this is the full year that you're not seeing. That's not the total 15,000, but that is a significant portion of that increase in that department. And then the last small increase that we have is postage. We've increased postage due to a small increase that we anticipate, but we're really doing this for 2026 elections absentee ballots. And our town clerk is now sending out DMV renewal notices rather than sending it through a third-party printer that it gets to do pre-sorted mail. While it's a little bit more cost for us, we need to be very careful with those DMV renewal notices and that private information. So we've made that change that we're actually doing it in-house. And then on the second page,
Go ahead, Josh.
Yeah, Derek, on the elections, one question I have is that inclusive of all costs? Like, billing of like time, everything for police officer coverage, staff, food, at both locations?
so that's part-time staff, that's food for 3 elections, that's all the office supplies for 3 elections, that's all the programming for the ballot counting devices, which obviously if we go with a different ballot counting device in 2026, those numbers could get adjusted here in the next month or so. The one thing that elections does not pay for is the special detail work that the police department provides. That comes out of the police department's budget. We've talked for many years about should we be doing budgeting that in elections and perhaps paying it out of that. We have never made that switch. It also doesn't pay for any costs associated that DPW or Parks and Recs provide, because they provide all the setup and breakdown of the poles as well. So those costs are still within the individual departments, but all the costs for printing, all the technology, everything for part-time work, the poll workers is there.
Do we have a rough order of magnitude of how much that cost us across those other items?
I don't have it today. If that's something you'd like, we can definitely we can probably pull the slips for the detail officers and get that.
Yeah, and I'd really like to know how much we're paying for each location.
Okay.
There's also a cost incurred by the school department too. They have the janitorial service in there.
Yep, and we've got a very good partnership with the school, and we're very thankful to them. They don't pass along that cost for the janitorial, so that is very much appreciated. And then on the second page of my memo are just the decreases. Again, elected officials, I just carried forward what the budget committee had done last year, so that's why the elected officials for town clerk was maintained, but the other two were left at zero. Our revaluation of property, that's our assessor. There's a reduction of $15,000 in consulting services. We've had a reduction in the number of off-cycle measure and lists, and he anticipates that going forward again next year, so we've made that reduction. Planning and zoning for minute takers, I apologize, I don't have the exact number here. I believe that was close to $5,000 reduction. We've started using AI to assist staff, so it's much quicker, and we don't have to pay that out. And then elections, there was a one-time project for 88 tabulators, so there's a reduction there. And then finally, in finance for auditing, we don't anticipate needing a single audit. That's when you have $750,000 or more in federal funds in a year. And then we have a reduced fee for our OPEB audit, but that will return to a $6,000 fee in 2027. And I don't know if the board wants to go through line by line at this time, but I'd be happy to answer any questions the board may have.
Start with Jim.
Well, I'm unsure what we're doing here. You gonna have a presentation after like we usually do, or is this our only shot?
This is his presentation,
This
right?
is the presentation?
Yeah, this is the, but I'd be, yeah.
No,
so
I'm just-
specific.
Oh,
Yeah.
We usually have, okay, all right. I'm just, then I'm okay, I guess. I was just confused how this works. Okay.
Mark?
Nope, I'm all set, still looking through it.
I think the key page I would point you to is on the second page of the department head budget overview. That kind of breaks down the changes for each department on dollar amount as well as a percentage amount. And then at the very bottom, kind of shows you if nothing else changes, what the net required local tax effort would have to change as well.
Where are you looking? Having a hard time following.
This is the one, 2026 department head budget overview.
Okay, all right, all right.
Derek, I see the fire increased by 13%, or at least that's what it's looking like. Is that correct?
That is correct, yes. So, as you may recall, last year, the voters approved by about a 2/3 vote CBA with the professional firefighters. So the significant portion of that increase is due to that contract.
Okay, is that half of that number, or is that most of the number, like 10%? Like, what are we talking about?
I see.
It's probably around 8 or 9%, to be honest with you. I think we looked at his lines this afternoon, and I think it was about 80 to 90,000 of his increases were in operational lines, where the rest of it was mostly in the wages.
We'll be getting a breakdown when he comes in and presents his budget to us. So you have a chance
Okay.
to, one-on-one with him.
So you're saying, hold my questions, Peter, I got you.
No, I didn't say it that way. But I'm saying, if you want the detail, I mean, we can get the detail directly from the horse's mouth, along with Derek, so.
I got it, thank you.
Yep. So I'll email to you, Josh. Did he send this over to you?
I don't think I have the Parks and Rec presentation.
I will send that over to you right now.
I thought I sent it to you. Maybe I didn't.
You know how great you are
That's
at
okay.
technology.
I sent you, you're gonna get two things from me. One was wrong and one is correct.
Fantastic, I'll take them both.
Clarification here, clarification on this department head budget right here, this page.
Overview?
Please switch the library and parks and rec numbers. Just switch the numbers. Thank you kindly.
Where's he
Wait a minute.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Just switch those numbers, please. Right across, straight across.
On the second page of
Right here.
the department head overview,
Oh, okay,
the
yeah, it
library
should be-
budget is where the Parks and Rec budget is.
Okay. I'm not there yet.
Okay.
I mean, how do you want to go through this? I mean, do you want me to tell you about what we got going on? Do you want me to just?
I want to know what you're doing, why you have a difference of wages of 24,000, regular wage part-time is less, things
Yeah.
like that.
Okay.
What's causing those?
Well, I think Derek hit the point about the full-time wages. It's 12 months. It's an increase showing 12 months instead of 6 months, all based on what he said on those matrix adjustments. So that's the big one there.
So that's still, Derek, that's still 3.3%? Because these are all non-union people, right?
Correct, so there is STEP for those that are eligible. We have, the town's non-union wage matrix is a 12-step matrix, and employees are eligible to proceed through that matrix by step each year, provided they have a satisfactory performance evaluation. And then the matrix is also, we have recommended an adjustment to match the August 2025 CPI.
Which was 3.3%.
Yes.
You want to go through it, Rick? Tell us what's going on?
Well, go down to the next one? Or you good with that?
Go right ahead.
Okay, we're gonna bring down the wage line for part-time wages, bring that down by 2,200. Basically, it's a position. We're eliminating one lifeguard position, and we'll go from there. There's the biggest increase, if I go jump down, of the $36,000 increase to this line, 26,000 of it is between wages, all your, what do you call that? Employee stuff, your wages, your longevities, your retirements, that kind of stuff.
Benefits?
Yeah, thanks, yeah, benefits. Yeah, so 20, it's all in there. So your increase, if you go all the way down to the park and operation line, there's really nothing new in that added. What we have added is increase of product cost. So that, your park operation line is going up $4,600. And that's literally just from the increase of product. Portable toilets, I mean, we spend almost $11,000 in portable toilets for the year. Seed, weed control, fertilizer, irrigation for the fields, parts for broken irrigation lines, stuff like that. The program line, that's going up $4,700, and that's directly, I mean, the tariffs are killing us in that area. We used to buy a game basketball for $60, now you're paying $85 for that basketball. So I mean, little ancillary things like that are adding up. And so you have those two lines, the park and rec line, the program line, those are lines that are going up. And then the only other line would be our contract service line. For us, contract service is basically all your referees. So everything from a men's league, youth leagues, lacrosse leagues, basketball leagues, and lacrosse. So you got an increase in that area. Those are the big increases, and then you have there's quite a few decreases as well. But like our heating oil, that's gonna go down, our electricity's gonna go up. We did the heat pumps last September, so we're in our first full year. And that's, electricity for us might go up $400 or $500, something like that, but those I think are our big ones.
And you want to head over to CIP?
CIP, we have 2 projects for 2026, which are not gonna hit the tax dollar one bit. Those are looking at adding a standalone, or 4 standalone pickleball courts to replace the pool at Roy Park, and then adding a dog park out in the the eastern side of the field, behind like where the softball field is along first base line, over in that area.
Bernardo?
And Bernardo, yep, Roy Park, yep. So those two tickets right there is basically from the revolving fund and from impact fee money. So not a dime is coming from taxation.
Big, great addition, Rick, that's awesome.
Say what, Josh?
So I think that'll be a great addition for the town, I think that's awesome.
Oh, yeah, no doubt about that. You guys got any questions? The Glen Lake to 07 to 27 waterfront rehab, is that something that says funding source? Are you questioning the funding source? Are you
Yeah, we're gonna have
looking
to
for
figure
funding?
out where that is. I think a lot of what, and I think the commissioners are aware too, is I think the way we're going, we have to, there's needs out there. Now we just have to really evaluate how we're gonna make it work.
Do you chase grants?
The ones that you can. I mean, the biggest ones for us are the, I can never get the word right, Conservation Fund, sugar.
Surface water.
No. Anyhow,
Yes,
yes.
one out there that you try, yeah.
We will look at them, and do the best we can.
Okay. Anybody got any questions for it?
Yeah, just one question, it's probably an ignorant question, Rick. Are a lot of the part-time staff or the seasonal staff paid out of like that revolving fund as well?
No, not at all.
Okay.
Is that it, Josh? You all set?
Yeah, I'm good.
Thank you, Rick.
Thank you.
Okay. Police Department, let's take a half an hour break. We wouldn't do that.
It's all right.
Are we taking a half-hour break?
No, no, we're not.
We were just joking about that, I get that.
We were just joking, that's right, Chief.
Thank you, Chief. At least we won't have to go look at things until I was here.
Yeah, great, thanks. Okay. Let me go right.
Full color.
Yeah, I know that. So go ahead, Chief.
Okay, thank you. Real quick, just to kind of get this out of the way, to answer Selectman Douglas's question for ours for elections, I just ran a quick from 2021 to 2025. For our elections for police, we run them on overtime and not detail pay. So it just depends on who takes the overtime, but on average, in the last 3 years, we're just about $2,300, $2,400 for those elections, and then earlier in 2021 and 2022, we were just about $1,500 to $1,600.
That's per election.
That's the entire election for March for town vote.
Okay, but we got 3 coming up.
I have not looked, I just wanted to answer And to answer the which site is more costly, again, it goes back to how many people we have at each site. Usually at Bartlett, we only use one officer. And if we're projecting it to be a very busy day, we'll put 2 there. Again, that's an overtime rate, so each officer is a different rate. And then the high school usually is about 3 people, and then if you throw in a salaried command staff, if we're there, that wouldn't, that's just it. Typically, it's on overtime, their day off kind of rate. Hope that helps answer that.
It does help, so it would be nice to see it broken down per site, but it sounds like we can take some estimate off of what you just said there, Chief.
Perfect. Yes, sir. If we're good?
Go for it.
All right, so presenting the budget to you all, I'll give you the first page is kind of just a quick, as we do every year, the overview. Again, we can get into line by line, but this is just my overview. So we had just about a 6 to 6.5% increase this year for the PD's budget. That increase, you'll see in my budget presentation, is really the wages is a huge driver of that. The numbers are there as far as my presentation of what the increase was. For operations, I broke it out. For those of you who don't know, we break out our budget as police operations and then division of communications. So we usually have 2 separate budget lines that I'll go over, but one's police operation, which includes everybody in the agency, and then communications, which is the communications division. So you can see the different overviews for both of those divisions. Our CIP, we're estimating about $213,000. That's 3 cruisers. That is a 7.5% increase, but I'd like to note that we do not have the figures from the 2026 state bid. We are going solely off the 2025 pricing. We've put a percentage, a little bit of a markup in there because we're seeing that price go up. Again, when I get to CIP, I can explain that. So next page, you'll see for the police operations side of the increases, you'll see the wages is just about $325,498. Yes, that includes the year full for all the department, all their part-time, full-time, the retirements, their benefits, the FICAs, the Medicare, all of that. That's included. That's the increase for all police operations. You'll also see a huge increase in our bulletproof vests. That's an increase of $9,500. And the reason why is because we need to outfit 6 people. Every 5 years, we have to outfit our police officers with a new bulletproof vest. So next year, we're out for 6 officers. And we're also budgeting for the potential for 4 to 5 officers retiring. We know for a fact we have 4 people in our department that are eligible to retire next year, and then history always, hopefully not, but we do have some people that leave after a few years, so we're anticipating potentially filling those spots with 5 new bulletproof vests. So that's why you saw that increase there. Uniforms went up by 10,000 because on average we're seeing every part of our uniforms, between the hats all the way down to the boots to the pants to the shirts, they're all going up. All the prices of our cost of uniforms is going up. One of the other big cost drivers for operations is this is our big 4-year accreditation award. In the past, CALEA has always done 3 years, and every 3 years we get reaccredited, and then we go to wherever the location that CALEA puts on. This year for 2026, it's in Omaha, Nebraska, and we need to travel there to not only do the conference but also receive the award. So, like I do this is now going to be a 4-year rotation, but every 3 years we've always budgeted for a couple of us to travel over to where CALEA's conference is and then receive the award. I'll bring you guys back to, I believe it was 2021 or 22. We were down in Chicago, received that award there, and came back. What I've been trying to do is budget for 4 people to go. It's usually myself, my accreditation manager, and 2 other people to go. I think it's a valuable training that brings other people with us so they can go to the conference and then they can experience what the CALEA award and conference is all about. It brings people into our CALEA realm a little bit more in depth than what we have at our agency.
What's CALEA? I'm sorry.
It's the Commission for sorry, it's the Commission for Accreditation for Law Enforcement.
We were one of the first in the state to
I
become
think we
accredited.
were the first in the state.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. 1992, I believe.
Right.
So that's the travel and employee development, you'll see that go up, 3,400. That itself is part of that conference cost for us to go over there. That's that. So you have the travel, which is the travel portion, and you have the employee development, which is the conference cost, which is why we see that increase there.
Hey, Chief, on
Sir.
the uniforms and the bulletproof vest, are those going up just because of count or also because of tariffs? Like, I thought I heard you say something about the uniform costs were going up. Do we know why they're increasing?
I cannot explain to you if it's tariffs or not. I just know that our vendors are seeing an increase from the manufacturer, and then we're seeing that cost as well. 5 years ago. Sir?
Are they coming from overseas? Are they coming from overseas or are they U.S. manufactured?
We are typically using Blauer, which I don't know if they start overseas and then end up here in America. They're out of this area, and then our vendor is right in Manchester that outfits us. But I can tell you that the Blauer uniform line, in the last 5 years, we typically went from a shirt that was this shirt that I'm wearing, it's embroidered, it's about $120 now, when before it was about $89. So in 5 years, we've seen that increase. Again, we haven't changed anything in the last 5 years, we're just seeing the cost of doing business is going up.
Okay.
And if we move on to the next page, excuse my typo for electricity, but that's supposed to say electricity. We're seeing a slight increase of $5,000. We're estimating for what we're seeing for usage. Gasoline, you will see for the cruisers. Last year, the budget committee, I believe, cut it about 10,000, which I think right now, the way our usage is, we might see a little bit of an overage there, so I added just about 5,000 to anticipate that overage for next year. But we're just basically going based on what we're getting for cost and then what our usages are. For the equipment line, you're seeing about an $8,900 increase, and that is because we have been slowly trying to transition our brand new firearms that we got in 2020. We are equipping them with a new sight, which is a better technology. We have done almost 20 thus far, and we're trying to get the rest of our agency on board. So we've increased our budget to get the last 15 in for next year. Part of that process is we order them, we get them on the firearm, and then we go through training with them, so they have to requalify with that firearm. So this would get the entire agency in 100%. Half of us currently now have them, and half of us don't. So this is just the increase to get these the new sights, and then hopefully that'll be done for 2027.
Chief, are you guys all using the same firearm? Are we getting a discount by using the same firearm?
Yeah, we ordered back in 2020, everybody gets issued the same firearm, the same handgun. We decided that we did not do it in 2020 to buy the red dot sights back then to save on costs, and now we've been slowly kind of working our way into it throughout the years. And this year I just wanted to, instead of trying to do 5 or 10 at a time, I just wanted to get the last 15 done and call it done for next year. So everybody's got the same firearm, just some of us have a little bit of a different optic than others.
Got it. Thank you.
All qualified on it though. Then you'll see the overtime cost. That is like every other year, that's a projection. I'm projecting that based on the increase that we're seeing in just the wages that are driving it. Plus when you become full staff, which we're hopefully getting for a little bit next year, the cost of doing business is a little bit higher. I will note for you guys, and I'll share this with the budget committee like I do every year, every year we try to do a quick cost analysis of that, of where we're at, and we basically break our numbers down to the end of September of what we're averaging, and the number that we give you guys at $250,000 is not even close to what we actually, if we had to cover every single overtime shift for all of our supervisors, all of our officers, we'd be way over $400,000. We manage the cost by not necessarily covering every single vacation request or every single, comp time or anything that comes in, sick calls. Some parts of our agency divisions do not have to backfill. Patrol typically does backfill, but if detectives call sick or if other divisions call out, we don't backfill with overtime. So my cost that I'm adding here is just a projection of what we think is gonna be because of the cost increase in wages.
So, Chief, can I just go back to gasoline?
Sure.
You've increased it by 5,000,
Yes.
and 24 actuals were 47,460. You went to 50,000. You're at 35,197. You're projected, after 9 months, you're projected to use about 47,000 again. Why would you was there a price increase, or?
There's a price decrease, but we've been averaging, I can pull it up. We average just about 2,000 gallons per month, give or take maybe 2,400. And we're just putting that as a projection of what we think, if we get full staff, we'll have more cars on the street.
Because if you do the projection now, you're actually projected to do less than you did in 24, but then you bump that up $5,000, and now this year you're bumping it up another $5,000, and where you're projected to do right around 47,000 again, so I would question that number going forward.
Sure.
Take a look at it.
Okay, I can double check, but I know we had over projected the last few years, and the budget committee bumped it down to 50, so, but yeah, absolutely, we can look into it a little bit more. All set on that?
Yep.
So we're going to operations decreases. We decreased furniture line by 3,000. We've outfitted most of our offices and patrol room with new furniture, so that we're not budgeting for anything abnormal. Next year, radar decreased. We have enough radars to outfit. I believe we have some for next year if we get cruisers, so we're decreasing slightly on that. We're changing from, we have a cruiser mount radar, and then we also have handhelds, and we're changing that this year to a laser to see how that works for us. We've never had one, so we're going to decrease that line as well because we don't need to buy more next year. We're good on that. Moving into the communications budget, really again, employee development. This is for our supervisor, who actually is dual role. She's the communications supervisor and the accreditation manager. So we added the increase for her conference fees in there for the employee development. The wages, again, for communication, 11 people in that division. That's the increase of $38,325. Again, that goes back to full-time. There are no part-timers right now. Retirement, Medicare, longevity, FICA, etc., all the benefits that are included. You will note that we have a $10,000 decrease in the radio maintenance line. That is our radio maintenance agreement that we've worked with our vendor. They've changed the they've changed the way our maintenance agreement is, which actually decreased over the next couple years, so we've taken that out of our budget. Same service, just different price. You will see if everyone's good with that. CIP, again, we're going with 3 cruisers that need to be replaced. The last few years, I've tried to get 2 Tahoes to change our vendor to see if the Tahoes would work for our agency. Last couple of years, we've been cut at the budget committee level for the Tahoes. We've been very lucky that the budget committee has given us the 3 Ford Interceptors, which has worked out for us. So this year, I've taken it. Again, I'm asking the town and the voters for 1 Tahoe and 2 Ford Interceptors. Again, the price of these is based on 2025 pricing. You'll see that obviously the Chevy Tahoe is substantially a lot more. The Fords do work for us. We're seeing them work, we're not seeing as many problems now that we've gotten away from, I guess my point is the COVID cars. They're not giving us as many problems. We're getting them on time. This year when we bought them, we just got them fully outfitted, and they're on the road here, I think, in the end of September. So from when we ordered them in March to now is when we received them. Again, we're just trying to see if a Chevy Tahoe or the Chevy brand would be a little bit different for us, a little bit of a different, change for our officers. Again,
Chief, is the reason to get that because you're having dependability issues, or you just want to have like a different type of vehicle?
So
I'm not sure
initially,
why.
we were having issues with Ford and the parts and the vendors, so we decided we were gonna switch over and try it. We talked to DPW, who works on our cars for the most part, said that sometimes Chevys are a little bit easier to source and work on. Obviously, there are Chevys in this town that the fire department uses. And then we basically just said, let's just try a Chevy, let's see if that works for us, for our PD. Other agencies around us, surrounding agencies have them, seem to work for them. A little bit of a bigger vehicle, but yeah, we want to try them now to see if it works out. It's not the end of the world if we don't get them. Certainly Fords are working for us. I think it was just something that we were looking to venture into. I will say,
How often are we replacing those again?
so we put them on a 3-year rotation in patrol. So when we get brand new cars, they get put into the patrol division, the marked cars you see come to your house or out in town. After about 3 years, we de-stripe them and put them into administration, which is 5 cars there, which then they go into detectives or any kind of administrative car. And then we keep those typically for another 3 years, depending if they're giving us problems or not. And then from there, we ship them off the DPW. And then I believe Adam, he runs them as long as he can, either with the, kind of the cars there that they use. So typically for the cycle of Goffstown PD, we keep them just about 6 years total. And then DPW, I think maybe he can answer maybe 3 to 4 years after that, depending if they're giving us problems. And
So if you switch to Chevy, is there an expectation that you could keep the car longer?
I don't know that. I certainly would try it, but I can't answer that question. I don't know.
Okay.
I think what we've seen, and again, the history of what we've done at Goffstown PD for the last, I've been here almost 20 years, is we've tried this every 3 years. We replace the line cars, we put the next 3 years into admin, and then we push them off to DPW. So 6 years for us. It seems to be working pretty well, and I know the years that we have been cut and have not gotten vehicles, we've pushed our cars out to 7, 8 years, and we've had problems with them. Just depends on what, sometimes we've had different issues here and there. And I don't know if the Chevy Tahoe would get us to 6 years or get us to 3, or we would try to keep it for at least 6. If we can get it longer, we would. But I would like to say to the group and to the public that, just to remind everybody, I say this every year, these are the officers' offices. These officers are in these cruisers for 12-hour days. It is their primary spot that they work out of. And they are a vehicle that is not driven the same as anybody else's vehicles. These are high-performance emergency response vehicles that are working just about 24 hours a day, 365 days, all weather patterns. So our goal, and my goal for our team here, is to always make sure we have pretty much top-of-the-line vehicles. When I say top-of-the-line, I mean brand new. So they're not having issues.
Is there an average amount of mileage on them after 3 years?
Yeah.
Ballpark?
So we are usually seeing anywhere from about 80 to 100,000
3 years?
in 3 years. Or I'm sorry, that's 6 years.
6
Sorry.
years, okay.
And what I would tell you guys is that I don't have the numbers particularly in front of me. I can get them for you, but I go back to when we do the presentation about the engine hours is always a little bit higher, but Ford does have that kind of calculation of, for every engine hour, they convert it to about 33 miles driven. So we're seeing cars that leave us after 6 years with almost 25 to 3,000 engine hours plus their mileage. So they are pushing, if you convert that to mileage, pretty high mileage. Again, our cars idle a lot due to the computer systems and other things in the vehicle that need to be charged at all times.
Thank you.
Anybody else on the cars? Go ahead.
Good enough, thank you. Just a quick overview for the board, for the public, and our cost drivers. I like to break this down for everybody. Obviously, just about 90% of our cost drivers in the PD is personnel. Operating costs are just about 7%. CIP is about 3% of our budget. We're good on that. Just a quick summary. I like to just give everybody some people that want to know. Our PD is 32 sworn officers, 2 part-time officers. We have 11 dispatchers. 4 support staff, 5 crossing guards. I'm pretty sure, depending on where you look online, we're the 14th largest agency in the state, 14th largest community in the state. We border the biggest city north of Boston. So we are in a position, we are growing, but this is what our personnel look like. For our vehicles, we have 10 line cruisers. Those are the ones that are marked. Those are the 3-year cycle. And then we have 5 unmarked cruisers on another 3-year cycle. We have 1 pickup truck, 1 command post, and 1 radar trailer. I always like to, as the next page, we always do, is show some pictures of what we do. It's always a couple of our SROs, and then us at National Night Out, and then of course the picture this last year of our officers up at the EC Week for Camp Fatima for the Exceptional Citizens Week. And last but not least, the obligatory, we're hiring. We'll share from last year to this year. We're fully staffed for dispatchers at this moment. Crossing guards are fully staffed, and it looks like we are getting to the point where we'll be fully staffed in patrol. We'll tell you that I think our CBA has helped us with recruiting officers, but that's where we're at. That is my overview of the high-level overview of our police department's budget.
Questions? Any more questions? Jim, you good? Mark?
Nope, good.
Josh? You good?
Keep up the good work, Chief.
Thank you. Be available for any questions or concerns in the future. All set? All set?
Yeah.
Very good, thanks.
Does anybody have any new business to bring before us? Seeing none. Old business, we have, let's go to our action matrix. Number 1, we're still working on. We don't have any update parts of shipping, fire chief on the, this is on the tanker, on the pump tower. Provide further updates as it become available. Derek, do you know if we're still within the budget on that we projected? Anything different?
I haven't heard anything different. I think they're waiting for the parts to ship, but I will check with Chief Murray.
Okay. Curbside truck out for service, going to Kenworth for diagnostic. We got a 10-wheel out with spreader body work, anticipated to return today. Did that happen, Adam?
It was not ready yet, so
Okay.
it did not come back today.
Right. And then we have another front line curb that went back into service, and a 6-wheel dump that was out of service is back in service. Anybody got any questions? Seeing none, is there anybody here for public comment?
Yeah.
You want to come up, state your name,
Yeah, Jim
address?
Butcher,
Name and address,
35 Mountain Road.
okay?
Boy.
Yeah,
You know, when I just hear the police talking about how they need some funding, I'm like, how come we didn't already give them that,
that's because the voters decide who gets what.
Exactly, I get that, And then, I talk to some people who are firemen, and I just want us all to have the best equipment, in town.
Okay,
That's it.
appreciate it, thank you. We'll keep that in consideration.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Seeing none, Mark?
Ready to go?
Yep.
All right. Go in non-public session, RSA 91A:32, for A, hiring, C, adversely affects the reputation of others than public body.
That should be B hiring.
Was it?
B hiring.
B, hiring.
Yep.
Second.
Going non-public, right?
That's right.
All right.
Motion by Mark, seconded by Jim. Jim?
Yes.
Mark?
Yes, sir.
Josh?
Yes.
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 That'll conclude tonight's public session of the Goffstown Select Board. We'll be going into non-public. Thank you.